Sorry folks, I'm just posting something here before I get started. Alright, auto hosting is done. No, don't want to do that. Alright, good evening folks. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, and 9 times out of 10 we're playing Death and Taxes on this channel. However, this is not the case tonight. So my card hoarder account is now up and running, so I get to borrow cards, and that leads to bad decisions being made. So here is tonight's bad decision. I give you Soldier Stompy. With a playset of Cavern of Souls and an assortment of questionably playable and legacy creatures, all 29 of them, we're doing a similar game plan to what Death and Taxes normally does, in that you're trying to have lock pieces, many of which are based on creatures, and then, like, close out the game afterwards. But the Soldier Stompy deck is a little bit different. So instead of Aether Vial, you have Preeminent Captain. So whenever this attacks, you can put a soldier creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, attacking. So this is a very different sort of card than Aether Vial, but they both sort of cheat mana and let you get a bunch of guys into play quickly. You know, the Preeminent Captain kind of gives them pseudo-weird haste, so they get to start attacking right away. So that's pretty neat. So, why is this deck good? The short answer is, well, this deck probably isn't. But it has some really good random matchups that are just like crazy good because of this card right here, Suppression Field. Suppression Field says activated abilities cost 2 more to cast unless they're mana abilities. So, fetch lands, Deathrite Shaman activations, Stoneforge activations, Wastelands, Rashadan Ports, Caracas, Planeswalker abilities. Suppression Field just randomly shuts down a whole bunch of decks, and so does Chalice of the Void. So, these are your best turn 1 plays that you can play off of either the Soul Lands or the Chrome Mox. So any one of the 7 Soul Lands gets you a turn 1 Chalice, any land plus a Chrome Mox gets you a turn 1 Chalice, any land plus a Chrome Mox gets you a turn 1 Suppression Field. So this deck really tries to play one of the following things on turn 1. Thalia, Suppression Field, or Chalice of the Void. Although sometimes you can get cute and do something like a Thalia Heretic Cathar on turn 1 if you get like an Ancient Tomb and a Chrome Mox or something like that. And turn 1 Preeminent Captain also isn't that bad because it can kind of just let you like shit bodies onto the battlefield, to be blunt. So there's a mix of weird things in this deck. A lot of them make sense. Like the 7 Thalias that I have here. Those are disruptive creatures, make sense. And then there's a lot of things that make less sense. I want to start with Aerial Responder, because this card is like borderline unplayable in Legacy. So it is a essentially color-shifted Vampire Nighthawk, right? Flying, Vigilance, Lifelink 2/3. This doesn't really look like it should be played in Legacy, but you have to do some things to deal with opposing creatures, because there's no true removal in this deck. You'll notice there's nothing like Sword to Plowshares, Lightning Bolt, Dismember that just like gets rid of a creature. You have a lot of like pseudo removal spells. A playset of Palace Jailer gets rid of stuff for a while. Fairgrounds Warden is my supplemental removal. It gets rid of stuff for a while. But your life total is somewhat under duress, especially because of your own Ancient Tombs. So Aerial Responder is sort of a bridge card that I'm playing in order to get around that. The white cards can be a little bit hard to cast, so you don't want too many of them. That's why like I don't have a playset here. And the other white cards, I only play 4 of them if they're insane, like Palace Jailer obviously is. We get some amount of utility in this Recruiter of the Guard here, so it can search up like pretty much everything here, right? It can't search up the aerial responders or the fairground wardens, but it gets everything else. And Daru Warchief, our lord, is like effectively a 2/3, but it's written with old templating. So it says soldier spells you cast cost 1 more to cast, and soldier creatures you control get +1/+2. So this is a soldier itself, and so it buffs itself. So this is effectively a 2/3 that gives all our other guys +1/+2. Our weird draw engine, in addition to Palace Jailer giving us the Monarch status, is Enlistment Officer. So if you've played Goblins before, this is just our version, right? So rather than Goblins, it's Soldiers. When Enlistment Officer ETB, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, and you can put any Soldier cards into your hand. Or actually, I should say you have to. You have to. This came up in my playtesting last night, where I wanted to not have cards in my hand so that I could not die to a Sword of War and Peace trigger from the other side of the table, but I had to put them into my hand. That got really awkward. So that's kind of the main deck. So we're looking to accelerate with Soul Lands, Chromox, and or Preeminent Captain, using Chalice of the Void, both Thalias, and Suppression Field to sort of stifle our opponent's early game, and then let our end game draw engines of Palace Jailer and Enlistment Officer let us pull further ahead. Sorry, one less to cast. Yes, I don't know if I misspoke. Sorry if I did. Yeah, soldier spells cost 1 less to cast, and note that that does stack. So if you get a couple of these War Chiefs, things can get pretty nutty. Yeah, Army of Thalia, it is going to be an interesting evening. All right, let's look at the sideboard. There's like no real people really working and tuning this like soldier Stompy archetype. I posted on the source thread of like, hey, I'm thinking about running this. Does anyone have any suggestions? And the only suggestion I got was, hey, have you tried Winter Orb instead of Suppression Field? And I didn't reply to that because Suppression Field is insane. So as far as the sideboard goes, I've opted in just kind of a handful of things that will make my game better against combo. So Thord of Amethyst and Warping Whales sort of generically hate on combo, and Containment Priest and Fairy are pretty good against graveyard shenanigans. I am not worried about slow graveyard shenanigans with this deck. I am worried about super fast graveyard shenanigans. Fairy is not amazing, but it's something that doesn't get eaten up by my Chalice of the Void on 1. And it's something that can deal with like the best starts from, say, Red-Black Reanimator. If I slow them down a little bit, I can, use my like Palace Jailers and Fairgrounds Wardens to eat their creatures, and that's fine. I just can't deal with it if they like kill me or get very close to effectively killing me before I get a couple of turns. Of note, Fairy is a little bit awkward with Suppression Field, but that hasn't come up and been a significant nuisance so far. The only time that's come up in my testing has been against lands where I had both in. I alternatively could play a playset of black ley lines like Tyler suggested. If I did that, I'd like get rid of the Containment Priest, and I'd pull this random Aegis of the Gods from the board, which is kind of a loose slot anyway. But I thought giving myself Hexproof would be kind of cute and maybe useful. As far as additional removal goes, we have Holy Light in the sideboard to nuke all non-white creatures. Hey, all our creatures are white. That's pretty convenient. We also have Armageddon to just get them. This deck can play like a turn 3 Armageddon or a turn 4 Armageddon and just destroy opposing decks because we get so far ahead. And if you Armageddon when there's like a Suppression Field in play, that's good enough to win the game against a lot of decks. They just can like never get ahead after that point. The only other random thing we have here is a Sorceress Spyglass to go and like deal with whatever random things the rest of my deck doesn't cover. So like in the lands matchup, it can name their lands, it can name a planeswalker. If you don't have suppression field, it can name equipment. Because this build, as it stands currently, does not have a disenchant effect, which may or may not be a mistake. Again, I have sort of minimal testing and very few to no sources that I can really refer to for good data. There was an article, or I guess a pair of articles that was posted on Reddit maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was kind of my starting point for some of this list, but I didn't like some of their suggested changes. So I think this is what I'm going to rock tonight. This was a subs choice deck list. This was something that you all wanted to see, and I'm happy to provide it for you. It's gonna be an adventure. I played 3 leagues with it last night. I went 0-5 in the first one. It was rough. And then I went 3-2 in both of the ones after that. So I kind of feel like I have the gist of what's going on now, but maybe I still have some questions, and there are still some like card choices that I think are a little bit questionable. I want to run with the deck list that I was testing last night, though, just because I'm comfortable with it. At the end of the stream, I'll talk about some things. I think there are probably some mistakes in the deck building here, but I'd rather see if those things come up again than just kind of like go and say everything ahead of time. So if anyone has any questions in the chat, feel free to throw them out, but I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into this. And again, I want to thank Card Hoarder for letting me borrow all of the stuff for this crazy silly deck list. Oh, what did I just do? I don't like that, whatever that is. Q's? No. League. Where do babies come from? That's a good question. I can use my biology degree and explain that in detail, but I think that breaks the Twitch terms of service. Yeah, good luck to getting into the Card Hoarder network, Tyler. I wouldn't be surprised if you got in, and if you don't now, it's just because you like haven't consistently been streaming for a while, and like the next time you apply, I'm sure you would get it if you don't now. As a classics teacher, what did you make of the Theros set? It was kind of like a little set of Easter eggs where I'm like, ooh, I see what they're doing with this reference. Ooh, I see what they're doing with this reference. So when I played in that pre-release, I had a lot of fun. Because I didn't really like look too much at all the cards ahead of time. So I got a lot of enjoyment out of that set. I didn't enjoy the mechanics of it too much, but I enjoyed the lore very much. Tyler Gale made my emote. I'd be very happy to put her in contact with you if you're looking for one as well. Alright, our hand's awesome. My opponent mulliganed. We have a turn 1 Chalice of the Void. I have no idea if she made Steven's token. So I think I want to go ahead and play this Chrome Mox so I can play on my Chalice around days. But I'm going to play my Chrome Mox first to see if they daze that. Alright, so that resolved. We either put Daru Warchief or an Enlistment Officer under this. It doesn't particularly matter which one. I'm going to put the Enlistment Officer under here, because ideally we resolve Aerial Responder into Daru Warchief to gain a ton of life. I mean, that's essentially this deck's game plan, is turn 1 Chalice, was that good enough? If yes, we win. Woo! Let's see if it's good enough, boys. So Tyler, her Twitter handle is, I believe, TCG Surgeon. If you want to get in touch with her directly. Otherwise, I can just, like, link you to her on Facebook. Alright, so the decision I have to make this turn is, like, how quickly do I want to try to lock them out of the game versus how quickly do I want to go and gain life. Yes, fancy Gale. That Gale, yes. I think I'm going to go ahead and Aerial Responder here. I have to keep taking nugs from this Ancient Tomb, so my life total matters a lot. Alright, opponent not attacking. Well, opponent, how do you feel about Daru Warchief? Do you have experience playing against Daru Warchief? Oh, man. Get there, Aerial Responder. Oh, man, this is gas. I'm enjoying myself now. This was a great decision. Sure, but if they have the decay, are they gonna... Nope, they're just gonna concede. They're just dead. Just stone cold dead to the power of Aerial Responder in Legacy. Alright, I would, like to go to sideboarding. Can we do that? Does my opponent have to click to go to sideboarding first? This is awkward. Oh, my opponent disconnected. That's the issue. Or part of the issue. Okay. Alright, so it looks like we're probably, question mark, playing against Bug Delver. We only saw that Trop Island there, so it's possible it is Grixis. So we've got to keep that in mind. We're kind of pre-boarded for Delver in many ways, in that, like, we have our removal spells in the main deck, and we have the Aerial Responders there as well. We might not even sideboard at all. If my opponent was Grixis, I'd definitely board in these Holy Lights. Those are pretty nutty. Since my opponent is Bug, and they have Abrupt Decay, Chalice of the Void isn't just like the game-winning punch that it is against a lot of other decks. So there's some possibility that I might want to, like, board out Chalice of the Void and bring in Thorn of Amethyst instead, since that also sort of, like, annoys Decay and stacks better than Chalice does. But I probably won't sideboard too much for this matchup. Yes, Aerial Responder replaced Captain of the Watch. I'm not playing a 6-drop in my deck. Like, Captain of the Watch was only good if you had it with Preeminent Captain. Otherwise, like, the card was garbage. Be more willing to put them on Grixis because they conceded so early instead of waiting for Decay or Tombstalker. It's very possible. Like, since I saw so little information, maybe I should just, like, play like they are Grixis, or at least like not board Thorn versus Chalice, and just leave Chalice in for this game. And then if I figure out they are Grixis, I'll board in Holy Lights for the next game. I don't know that, like, Flooded Strand is 100% a giveaway. Like, it's a blue fetch. My opponent is probably not playing any, like, non-island cards anyway because of Daze. Well, so there's this hand. This hand is a turn 1 Chalice or a turn 1 Suppression field, followed by a lot more Chalices or Suppression fields. But this hand doesn't actually kill, and I have to, like, exile my only threat to Daru Warchief to a Chrome Box. But I think we're keeping this. We do have Thalia Heretic Cathar. We have 3 of them. Get him. Oh, that just worked. Neat. So now my opponent's Deathrite Shaman doesn't actually make mana. Well, that's interesting. Turns out we may have slightly misevaluated the opponent's deck, but that's not going to matter too much. Alright, so they got a Batterskull. That's okay, that costs 4 mana to put in. So I kind of just want to, like, keep the lock going and play Thalia Heretic Cathar. But that's kind of awkward, because, like, the earlier you slam Chalice of the Void, the better. But Thalia Heretic Cathar plus Suppression Field will probably mean that my opponent can just, like, never put in Batterskull. But... I'm just going to take a turn to Chalice on 1. I want to do that so that my opponent can't use that to draw into more lands. And if it gets forced, we can just do it again. Did not get forced. Still kind of want to do it again now while I have the mana available to do so. I might put one on 2 later, but I'm certainly not going to put one on anything above 2. Yeah, I think this counts as doing the thing. Yeah, so for anyone who missed, like, the very beginning of this game, we saw a Delver in game 1 before my opponent conceded. So my opponent is on, like, some sort of 4-color, non-red Delver or Stoneblade sort of deck. I like to play decks that I think can win. Disenchant Suppression Field. Alright, that is legitimately annoying. That means the Batterskull gets to come in. So the Batterskull is a long-term problem because we can't actually take it off the table. But over the course of a couple of turns, it's going to be pretty easy to just, like, put up a big enough wall of first strike that doesn't matter. And I'm just going to take the hit here rather than block with Thalia and bounce. True name Nemesis, you say? Tapped true name. That's fine. That can start going overhead. But if my opponent draws another land and just puts an equipment on true name, that's the end of me. Now that the true name is here, I'm not going to tap this Ancient Tomb again if I can help it, and I'll expose the Thalia to a removal spell instead. Yeah, Holy Light is very good against True Name Nemesis, just kind of like bad against the rest. Like, it's bad against Deathrite, Stoneforge. I guess it's fine against Delver if they still have Delvers. Alright, that Suppression Field's a little late to the party. Well, the good news is that there's no more food for Deathrite Shaman. The bad news is basically everything else about this game. So at this point, we're now probably blocking Batterskull and bouncing Thalia. No, we're not. That'll cost us 2 life with the Ancient Tomb. And that is dead numbers. It's fine, like, we need the aerial responder's lifelink in order to get anywhere in this game. So, we needed, like, a Daru War Chief there. No, that would cost me 2 life as well. So, I don't think I have any live draws up of Palace Jailer, because I don't have any instants. Yep. Okay, so we're just dead to true name there. We concede this one. Alright, now we got a better feel for what my opponent's doing. So, since my opponent is a little bit of a bigger deck, I think Armageddon is on the table, and I think Holy Light is on the table. Thorn and Sorceress Spyglass are considerations. I'll probably Spyglass to just shut off equipment. It's another turn 1 play off of like Ancient Tomb or City as well. Alright, so what do we not want against my opponent's deck? I probably don't want to cut any of my sort of generic core good hate cards. If I'm going to be bringing in 4 cards, the power of Enlistment Officer goes down a bit. So I could trim a couple of Enlistment Officers because it's going to be a little less likely to hit. And for similar reasons, I could probably trim some Preeminent Captains. And if I'm going to like add Holy Light as removal for True Name Nemesis, I can probably go down either like a Jailer or a Warden. That looks good. Alright, so we have a turn 1 Chalice of the Void. Turn 2 Thalia with another land. Turn 3 Armageddon if we want. This combination of cards seems like a keep. And I'm just going to play my planes on turn 1. I don't need to play around days on turn 1. Alright, opponent has a force. That is okay. In before opponent just plays Deathrat Shaman to make my Armageddon plan way worse. Yeah, there we go. Ooh. That's a good Thalia. I actually almost want to play that before Guardian of Thraben, because I have the possibility of doing like small Thalia plus another spell, whereas I probably can't do big Thalia plus another spell. Big Thalia also prevents just like land True Name Nemesis from coming down, and I think I'm in the market for that. Big Thalia, if she sticks around, will also let me Armageddon if I decide that that's something I want to do next turn. And of note, you get a lot of F6 value from this deck because you almost never need to go and like do anything during your opponent's turns. I don't think we're in a good enough position to Armageddon yet. I don't know that we will, like, with certainty beat randomly flipping Delver and Deathrite Shaman. So I'm just going to continue to deploy creatures. Awkwardly, this does mean that we can't cast the Armageddon right now. I would love to draw Palace Jailer for my next turn. Because the Delver is going to flip. And I would love to just, like, nug the flip Delver and then Armageddon. Or alternatively, nug the Deathrite Shaman and then Armageddon. So if I can stack the top 2 cards of my deck, it's Palace Jailer followed by land. Oh, neat. That just resolved. Oh, wow. Opponent just shuffled away a bunch of garbage. Did not randomly flip their Delver. This is probably Bad News Bears Town for my opponent now. Ah, there goes the Armageddon. The dream is dead. The dream is dead. But my opponent goes to 12, and I'm attacking them for 5. Life is okay. Daddy wants a Palace Jailer. Mono Thalia control. We're not, like, as Thalia as we can be. We only have 7 Thalias. I could have built this with Thalia's Lancers as well, if I wanted to go, like, maximum Thalia-age. Ooh. That's decent. Wow, they took the Thalia Heretic Cathar, I guess, since I can't cast this Armageddon. I don't think you just, like, leave a player with an Armageddon in their hand, like, ever, if you have the opportunity to take it. But, like, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm being old-fashioned. No, if we put the Vryn Wingmares in there, I think we've gone too far away from the direction of Soldier Stompy. You know? Yes, the saddest fetch land. The fetch lands are so sad when you, like, have to get a Thalia followed by, like, when you essentially get the double mana denial portion from it. I can kill the Deathrite or the Delver. Kinda want to kill the Deathrite, because then, like, with one more land I get to Armageddon, and then they don't have mana anymore. I think we're going to name Soldier with this. Alright, opponent. It's your Delver versus my Thalia and my Chalice. And this Armageddon that's coming. Do you have something annoying like a True Name Nemesis to plop down? Ah, not this turn you don't. Should play basics. Ah, really should play basics. Just seems like a mistake to not play basics. Alright, so that wasn't quite the land we need, but basically almost any card in our deck now will let us cast this Armageddon. But my opponent has an opening to do something nasty here. That Swords to Plowshares. not nasty enough. Alright, and my opponent just concedes. All their lands came into play tapped. They didn't do anything. Alright, I guess that's the power of Soldier Stompy. Just doing sweet things. Stunton, I see your whisper. Why don't you direct that to me in an email so that I remember to answer it. Long story short, though, I think the headshot one works better. If there's more details you need, though, shoot me a message in an email. For everyone else, ignore that. Don't worry about it. So this is a hand. It's a hand that doesn't do anything on turn 1. This is a hand where we, like, just play like we're Death and Taxes for the first 2 turns of the game, and then we slam Palace Jailer, and then we slam Daru War Chief. If we treat this like a 6-card hand that's like Tomb, War Chief, Jailer, Caracas, Souls, Thalia, this hand is fine. It's not exciting, but it's fine. Reluctant keep. This is probably good enough. It just like doesn't do anything super impressive. Ahem. As I was saying, this hand is amazing. This deck is amazing. All hail the Soldier Tribe, the best of all the tribes. Oh. We tried. Alright, so this Thalia, or sorry, this Ancient Tomb is now a little bit awkward. We're going to take a lot of damage off this Ancient Tomb over the course of this game. Hello, hello. Welcome to the glory that is Soldier Stompy. It looks like we're playing against Grixis Delver. And here's to hoping that this Palace Jailer does stupid things before my opponent has infinite elemental tokens. So the good news is that my Palace Jailer is uncounterable. I'll get to eat the young Pyromancer with my Palace Jailer, and then I'll get to hold the Thalia back on defense. Oh, Z-Boy Wonder, thank you for hosting. Sorry, there's a D&T question there that I'll answer momentarily. Alright, so, long story short, you know, I tested, just playing Plains over additional Cavern of Souls. And yes, that was a fine choice. If you just play more Plains, you're better against Delver, and like random Blood Moon decks and things of that nature. But if you go and play more Cavern of Souls, you're better against things like Miracles and Checkpile. So it's more of a choice for what you want to beat harder, rather than like anything more than that. So I can cast Recruiter of the Guard, get Fairgrounds Warden the Delver, and then, like, 100% keep the Monarch status. I'd take 10. Alright, I'd go down to 10 in order to do that, but that's probably fine. I can also just, like, slam a second Palace Jailer on the Delver and, like, not take that additional damage. I can't play Palace Jailer and Suppression Field, but I think that's okay. I'm going to become the Monarch again. Got all these crowns. We're not going to start attacking yet. I can just sit back here for a little while. I'm going to close the game out super quickly with double Daru Warchief. The Cavern just makes me feel so safe. Yeah. Yeah. The Cavern has probably been way better than we can know this game. Don't you fall! Oh, opponent! Dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Stupid True Name Nemesis being so good. We're gonna Holy Light the shit out of our opponent. So I guess this is like the turn where I start going aggro. I'm gonna need to play the Suppression Field so the Death Rites just don't, like, bleed me to death immediately. I can't play War Chief and Suppression Field, though. So if I go War Chief this turn, I can attack in with my Palace Jailers, and they're going to have 4 toughness so they can live through a True Name block. So my opponent would have to trade at least an Elemental token for one of them. But if I play the War Chief, I can't Suppression Field. And if I don't Suppression Field, I just take 3 from the True Name, followed by 4 from the Delver, and then I'm dead the next turn. So I have to Suppression Field this turn. Yeah, I think we could have beaten, like, anything but True Name. That's super unfortunate. Yeah, nice crown, idiot. How do I win this game? So I can Recruiter for some creature and play that creature. Then, alright, so I can play Recruiter, get a creature. Get Preeminent Captain. Next turn, put in Preeminent Captain. Or put in Daru Warchief and cast a Daru Warchief. Oh, but if I take... I think I'm dead. If I go Daru Warchief, I crash in, my opponent will just, like, probably take 3, block here, and just let my jailer live because it's irrelevant. I'll then just take a buttload of damage from Deathrite Shamans. I think I'm probably dead more or less whichever way I go about this scenario. If I take 4 from this, I go to 8, go to 5, go to 4. Anything like a lightning bolt is just going to kill me. So I think I'll go for a line that lets me play Magic for longer, and I'll play this Suppression field. So that's in play. This is terrible. So we're going to go for the Recruiter to put another body in play, and then try to get there with, like, a double Daru War Chief something. I don't know, I think we're dead. I don't think there's anything better that I can search up either, unfortunately. Yeah, so Cavern not tapping for white mana is very real. Yeah, so our Alpha Strike doesn't do us any good here. If we just played Daru Warchief last turn, we just got Wastelanded, and then we're kind of in the same spot. Yeah, my opponent could just, like, chump block. I'd have to tap an Ancient Tomb in order to get the other Daru Warchief in play, and then I'm dead. Yep, alright. We weren't getting through that no matter what. Alright, so we're playing against Grixis Delver. So removal is good. Holy Light, awesome. Warping Whale, probably good enough, because it exiles, like, Delvers and Young Pyromancers and Deathrite Shamans. And we can consider Thorn. I don't know if we need Thorn. Alright, we have a lot of awkward cards in this matchup, because Palace Jailer is really good until it isn't, and Fairgrounds Warden is really good until it isn't. But my general game plan for most post-sideboard games where I'm, like, decreasing my creature count is to, like, trim some number of enlistment officers and preeminent captains. Holy Light Deep! Yes, we are Holy Light Deep tonight. But if that's the most surprising thing in this deck list to you, have you seen the Fairgrounds Warden? Because I played that card in Vintage, but I've never played this card in Legacy before. Alright, so I'll probably trim 2 enlistment officers. And maybe I'm supposed to trim all of those, honestly. Like, against the Delver deck, like, it's my stuff down here that really matters. And I guess if I, like, just dump a preeminent captain into play early and it doesn't get removed, it just dumping all of this stuff into play is really sweet. Yeah, so the Soldier Stompy deck isn't very well played. I think the Holy Lights are really good. Well, I'm going to keep this hand. And we're going to try to play a turn 1 Chalice, followed by a turn 2 Suppression Field, followed by a turn 3 Suppression Field, and then eventually we'll stick a threat. Yeah, Holy Light is nutso. Like, when you can play that card and it's good, it is so incredibly insane. Alright, we stuck the Chalice on 1. So my opponent, yep, alright, opponent has a Wasteland. We'll take this slow. Drawing a land was nuts. Because my opponent, again, is going to get to do nothing with their turn, because, like, they have to play a new land. Does Chromox do anything? Chromox would let me play around a daze. Do I care about that? Probably. We'll get rid of the Daru Warchief. I value having another suppression field over anything else here. No, we're not playing the Thalia this turn. We are definitely playing the suppression field this turn. We want to play the suppression field before the Thalia, so that next turn if we draw a land, we can go suppression field followed by Thalia. You enjoy your elemental token, sir. Or madam. Karate Dominatrix? Karate Dominatrix? Who knows? So I can Preeminent Captain here, which lets me put in my Thalia next turn. Or I can just Thalia here, or I can follow up with the second, like, potentially devastating suppression field. Because with another suppression field, my opponent can't actually fetch ever again. Kind of like that. Yeah, so now I've taken my opponent off of cantrips. They can cast them to create a 1/1 red elemental token that will be walled by all of my first strikers. Yep, there we go. That's a sad realization for you, opponent. How many times do you think I'm going to click human by accident? Is that what you mean? I don't think that's going to happen. Alright, let's resolve a Thalia. Alright, you enjoy your elemental token. And I'll take 2 to just play out the Preeminent Captain. I don't care if this gets countered all that much. At this point, I'm hellbent. This is just a 2/2. Oh, I'll click Kithkin. I see. Making all those elementals. So I think I'm going to hold the Thalia back, but attack in with the Preeminent Captain. Because then I get to put in another Preeminent Captain. Do I care for trading these for 2 tokens? Alternatively, like, I could just build a wall and hide behind the wall and wait till I draw Holy Light. That's fine. We can play this one super slowly. It is very aggressive from the opponent. I hope they have something like a Gurmag Angler, where their decisions to do all this make sense. Alright. True name Nemesis. Best Holy Light ever? Best Holy Light ever. Let's draw it. Aww, that's not Holy Light. So on that previous turn, if I attack with the Captain, then my opponent can trade a bunch of elemental tokens for my Captain. I don't think I need to do that. Oh man, is this another true name? Gurmag. Alright, slightly worse than best Holy Light ever now. But that Gurmag Angler is not getting any beats in. So, like, Cheesehead, it's only first strike. It's not double strike. So, like, I don't know that that's worth it. We're not trading for the whole team. My opponent says, you seem to strike first. I'm a man of simple tastes. Yeah, so, like, this is different from, like, say, the Mirren Crusader that you see in Death and Taxes. Oh, man. Oh, man. This is even an instant, so I can wait to do it till my opponent's turn. Sweet. I wanted to do that during their upkeep, but whatever, I don't have a stop set there. Is it happening? Is it happening? Because we can beat this Gurmag very easily. Like, all we need to do is draw a Jailer or a Daru War Chief. Daze. Okay. My opponent has to have, like, a Spell Pierce. Nope, it can't be Spell Pierce. Does my opponent have triple Daze? Alright, that was just 2 damage to me. That was a sweet holy light. Yeah. Yeah, we got him. Alright, well, I probably don't want to just, like, attack yet, because I can, like, just throw 6 damage at their dome and throw away a creature. I'll just play the patient game here. The world needs more suppression. Hey, Caracas would be a pretty sweet draw, too, because that could mean I could... Don't do it! No! Alright. Alright, this is a start. We can probably out-aggro my opponent with this. Ba-da-da-da-da-da! Charge! Alright, Young Pyromancer is a decent draw. That presents a blocker. Not yet it doesn't. Ah, we win! We did it, chat! Take that, true name Nemesis. Holy light, best light. I think I like everything we did with sideboarding. We'll run that back. Alright, this plays a turn 1 Chalice around Daze if we're willing to pitch the Preeminent Captain. We might not be willing, though. It's our only threat. It's also a great card. Oh, boss, we're so not keeping notes on this. This is just like, we're playing this. This is not like... long-term refined soldier Stompy stream. This is for funzo. Take that, you stupid thieving fish. Yes. Opponent's Cabal Therapy on Chalice of the Void would be real hot here. Alright, now I'm probably willing to pitch a preeminent captain to play around days. We had a cavern, so it was irrelevant. Alright, so we have this Chalice that just resolved. We don't have a ton of action, but Chalice is really good. Alright, opponent gets to set us back a little bit. We don't actually mind too much. We've probably done considerable damage to them. Is there a world where I put this on 2? No, I have like Warping Whales and stuff now. So I'm just gonna like ram another one of these out there. So next turn we'll play Uncounterable Preeminent Captain and hopefully draw some soldiers in the meantime to start putting in. Yep. Ooh. Putting in the Preeminent Captain is a way better use of my mana. But just playing a Thalia on a board where my opponent isn't doing a lot is pretty good. I also think my opponent is pretty likely to just, like, play a Gurmag Angler or something of that ilk, where the Preeminent Captain might not get through. So I think it might be better to just Thalia here. Because if my opponent just, like, does a True Name or does an Angler, which I think they have in their hand, or at least they're, like, playing towards it, then just playing the Preeminent Captain doesn't do a ton. I've also shut off the 1-drops, so Thalia is likely to live even without the Karakas backup. So I think I'm going to play Thalia. Soldier, not human. Caught myself. My opponent going to like Brainstorm here. Throw that into the double Chalice. Nope, just fetching. Alright, opponent got rid of my nifty, uncounterable, awesome land. It's going to cost 1 more. That was my opponent trying to hardcast a Daze. And now my opponent just did a Daze like that, and I think they should probably just, like, eat one of my lands and, like, naturally cast a Daze, but I don't know, like, how much they have left in their hand. So that might not be true. Alright, give me a little love tap. I think I can just always yield to my own chalices. Alright. I don't really expect this to resolve. Like, if my opponent has counter magic, this goes right now. Oh man, drawing that Holy Light is awesome. And my opponent scoops it up. Hey chat, did I break Legacy? Is Soldier Stompy secretly the best deck? Because tonight our win rate is 100%. That's pretty awesome. Alright, there were a lot of people who came in late, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the deck list up for a moment. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm just going to run to the restroom for a little bit before we start round 3. Alright, so, hi everyone, my name is Phil Gallagher, sorry about the delay. I run ThrabenU University, a Death and Taxes site, but tonight we're playing with Soldier Stompy, and we're currently 2-0. The 5-0 dream? The 5-0 dream is currently real. Yeah, I don't know if this is as good as Popeye Stompy. That deck almost got emergency banned, so I don't know that we'll go that far. Chair gonna 5-0? I mean, it's like 50% chair, 50% me. No, we don't have Delusions of Grandeur in this deck. We're not blue. Yeah, so this deck usually is referred to as Soldier Stompy because it is a tribal Cavern of Souls deck. Like the core of the deck often goes into multiple archetypes. So like this Chalice of the Void, like Thalia core can be built around in a couple of different ways. Like you can build this around like humans off Cavern of Souls, or you'll see like other people like playing some of the same generic hate cards like the Thorns and the Chalices, and then like playing Angel Stompy instead. Yeah, it's a tribal deck that has like a couple of random like off tribal things in the sideboard. My opponent is Asian food good. I agree, Asian food is good. Oh! I know who my opponent is. My opponent is Aisoka, right? He's another streamer, and I believe he is currently streaming. So he tends to play this weird, like, blue, white, red, Stoneblade, Grim, Lavamancer, Snapcaster Mage, Spellstutter, Sprite pet deck. Although I think he's been playing a little bit of Delver recently, I believe, or Check Pile. Either way, I like this hand. Since my opponent is streaming, please don't tell me anything about what they are doing if you are watching both streams. I want to have a good play experience. Chromox. Ooh, we get a Chromox. Let's put an enlistment officer under there. How do you feel about Chalice of the Void? Because I feel like it's great. Whew! It happened. Suppression Field is one of those cards where if you're going to play it, the earlier you put it into play, the better. The longer you wait on Suppression Field, the less value you get out of it. So, like, even though Thalia is, like, objectively a better play that turn, yeah, you play that 1/1. I accept. So 1, 2, 3. I have 4 mana this turn. So, like, again, objectively speaking, playing Thalia is what I want to be doing in this matchup. But as far as, like, using my mana efficiently goes, either one of these two plays is just much better. The War Chief is something I'd rather play a little bit. The War Chief is something I'd rather play a little bit later. I kind of want to play Enlistment Officer and try to find multiple spells that I can play. Especially like a Palace Jailer would be awesome. So I'm just gonna like jam the Enlistment Officer. Ooh. Draw 3 cards on a body. Oh my gosh, why is it so hard to click? So, my opponent just responded, "Oh, F!" They're aware of what's going on here now. Alright, so my opponent gets a Batterskull now. That's gonna take a long time to put into play. So I think my turn is probably just, like, uncounterable Thalia. Or I guess I can go uncounterable War Chief into 1-mana Thalia. Attack for 3. That's pretty good. Although that opens me up to my opponent having a natural land and just putting the Batterskull in. But if they put the Batterskull in, I can just Fairgrounds Warden it, and then that's not an issue. We're also going to have so much First Strike that the Batterskull itself isn't that scary, oddly enough. Iron Root Treefolk right there. Oh, buddy. I don't even know what all we're doing this turn, but the answer is we're doing a lot. I probably am willing to just tap this Ancient Tomb right here just to leave up more white sources, because I'm probably going to play, like, 6 cards this turn. Do we win Creature Combat? I feel like Creature Combat is going to go okay for us, yeah. That's probably true. Ooh, we get a Recruiter. Recruiter does everything. But I probably don't want a Recruiter right now. I probably just want a Fairgrounds Warden their Stoneforge Mystic before they spike the land. This is not uncounterable, so my opponent can pay a mana and force this. Aww. I guess I should have played my Recruiter pre-combat. Okay, so that trigger is targeting themselves. That's fine. I'm just going to bounce their Vendilion and click. I don't want it to block my Daru Warchief, because this one doesn't have First Strike, all the other ones do. Yep. Alright. Not doing that. This is the one time my Suppression Field does something that I don't like. But luckily all my First Strike guys get to, like, do their damage first. So I thought about, like, the Daru Warchief getting removed, but I just couldn't think of any removal spell that he'd reasonably running that he wouldn't have fired off already. So that was on me. Minor mistake. That's okay. So, like, next turn I'll Recruiter for a Daru Warchief, and then just be presenting lethal damage. So that's all fine. First Strike, man. First Strike. Who designed that ability? Oh god, a Jailer too? So how much damage am I currently fighting? 2, 4, 6. I'm currently presenting 7. So I can cast Recruiter and go get a Daru War Chief. My opponent can block one of these and take 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not be dead. But be real close to dead. This is great. Alright, so against my opponent, Armageddon seems correct. Armageddon just seems like the Nutter Butters. If my opponent is trying to do like all of these like Stoneforge, like potentially like, I think True Name Nemesis is probably in their deck. If not, it should be, because that card's nuts. Actually, my opponent's deck is probably full of X ones, right? Like Lavamancer, Snapcaster Mage, Click, Sprite? Holy Light might be good enough. Warping Whale is also a real consideration. So is Spyglass. 75% suppression field, 60% share, 2% skill, 100% reason to play Soldier Stompy. Wait, that's not how math works. Alright, so cards that we'll consider: Warping Whale, Spyglass, Holy Lights. Something to keep in mind, I think my opponent Blood Moons. So if my opponent Blood Moons, then I need to kind of be cognizant of that, because it will shut off my caverns, and then it leaves only my, like, 6 planes and 4 Chromox as ways to cast all my colored spells, and it's super awkward. So I'll probably trim some Preeminent Captains. I'll trim Fairground Wardens if I'm bringing in other removal. I'll probably trim some Enlistment Officers, although it's kind of good if my opponent just like playing the controlling route. So maybe I keep those, cut the Captains. I guess Jailder's kind of awkward if my opponent does play True Name. Maybe I'm going too deep with the Warping Whales. Maybe that's not good enough. It's probably good enough. I probably should like never board in 7 cards with this deck though. 7 is a lot. I think this is one of those decks where like it's probably pretty easy to over sideboard. Let's run this. Ooh, 15% concentrated power of fill. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. So this has Ancient Tomb into Warping Whale, but I can't like cast literally anything else in my hand. Oh, this is really bad. This one goes back too. Like, even if we spike a white... Like, this double City of Traders hand is already like a mold of 5. Like, the only way this hand is good is if we spike like a basic Plains that we could play on 1, so that we could potentially like Thalia Heretic Cathar on 2 and Palace Jailer on 3. This hand's really bad. The only other way this is good is if I spike Chalice. Ugh. This one probably goes back too. Although this is close. Yes, my opponent is AisokaMTG. AISOKAMTG. I'm gonna ship this one. This is the best hand so far. That'll go on top. So, like, that's not a, like, automatically mulligan it. It is like a consider your... My opponent says try brainstorm. That was like a true like consider my outs sort of scenario where I should really think about whether or not I have a high enough chance to win the game. I'm gonna go ahead and like play this Chromox here before my opponent can just Spellstrutter Sprite it, because that would be super annoying. No, it's not an auto mull, because like if you think for a minute about like what is the probability that I draw Chalice of the Void as my next draw versus like what is the probability of I draw a non-colorless producing land, like there's a real decision to be had there. And when you go to 5 with a deck like this, you lose the vast majority of the time. So, like, it is a real decision that requires thought. It is not just, like, 100% ship that. Yeah, Legacy Staple Aerial Responder. Look at that. So many keywords. Flying, Vigilance, Lifelink, 2/3, Uncounterable off Cavern of Souls. Opponent says, where's the Death Touch? Alright, so my opponent's putting in a Batterskull here. But we can fly over that. And I think this is the time where we Chalice now. And once the Germ token is in play, then I'll Palace Jailer that. And then I'll try to get there with the usual shenanigans. We're in super trouble if my opponent just goes, like, land another piece of equipment, though. Alright, Palace Jailer. Show us what you got. Ooh, no. I should not tap like that. I don't want to tap like that in case I draw exactly Warping Whale. I want to leave a colorless up. Vampire Whitehawk. I can see it. My opponent just, like, face rolled on the keyboard and just typed, like, AWEJIGAO, just like... They are not pleased. Goodbye, Germ Token. I would be so happy if I drew Warping Whale, because my opponent will, like, pick up the Batterskull, and then I get to, like, exile that Stoneforge. It'd be so spicy. Alright, my opponent just scoops it up there. With the Chalice on 1 and the Monarch, it's too much. Uh, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Hopping in from Jordan's stream, Phil, this deck is wild. Yeah, in Step Top, and we're 3-0 with it to boot. So since you just got here, like, here's the deck list that I'm working with. It is written below, but like it's just much easier to see the visual. So we're the usual like Thalia package, and in my flex slots, I've opted to include Aerial Responder and Fairgrounds Warden as ways to like patch up the Delver matchup. Yeah, I know, right? So the aerial responders are really nutty when you get like the Daru Warchief to pump them up. When you have like this like 3/5 flying vigilant lifelinker, it's pretty annoying for most threats and like most decks, unless you have like a Gurmag Angler or a True Name Nemesis or something. Yeah, this deck's doing like surprisingly well. I played some leagues with it yesterday. I went 0-5 in my first one while I was learning. I made a bunch of like micro mistakes that definitely cost me games. But then I went 3-2 in both of my other ones. No, this deck has really weird racing potential. So yesterday my opponent made a turn 1 Chancellor of the Annex when playing Red-Black Reanimator, going all in on it. And I just went like turn 1, I think I went like Chrome Mox, Preeminent Captain, attack, put an Aerial Responder. Opponent has to like start waiting, and I just like keep deploying like Aerial Responder after Aerial Responder, finally into Daru Warchief, and I just like beat him to death through his Chancellor, all the while like ignoring the triggers with Cavern of Souls. It was super fun. Yeah, so like this is a bunch of cards that like maybe you wouldn't even play in draft unless you got like Soldier Tribal, but like here it is working, doing work. 3-0, 5-0 Dream is still alive somehow. We've already cashed this league. We're doing it. So, for anyone not familiar with my opponent, his handle is AisokaMTG, AisokaMTG. He's a legacy streamer. He generally has a good time and laughs at himself a lot while streaming. It's pretty entertaining to watch. I'll frequently throw on his stream while I'm like eating or something like that. He streams a lot in the evening. I don't know, maybe somewhere like 7 to 11 Eastern time or something like that. Check it out. It's good stuff. Zirnak. Looks like my opponent plays a lot of Affinity in Modern, but I don't have any Legacy results. So my hand plays a turn 2 Preeminent Captain into a lot of stuff. This isn't a very explosive hand. This is a really fair hand. If Preeminent Captain lives, this hand is good. Otherwise, this hand is kind of mediocre. But it has a lot of tools for a fair fight. And if I draw a broken card off the top, then this hand is insane. So I'll go ahead and keep this. This is probably bad for me. I have a fair hand against an unfair deck. Do I have any reason to play Chrome Mox right now? Probably not, so I won't. I'll just give the impression that I'm Death and Taxes for a turn, because that's something that my... Ooh, there's that eye. Alright, so we're going all in on, like, Preeminent Captain aggro this game. I probably want to get rid of my Fairgrounds Warden in the hopes that I go aggressive enough that my opponent doesn't get a creature into play. Because this is like terrible to put in off of Preeminent Captain. And I'm kind of going to assume that my opponent isn't traditional Eldrazi. I'm going to assume that they're like a big Eldrazi deck, rightfully or wrongfully. And no, maybe I bin the second Preeminent Captain just in case I'm wrong. The downside of being wrong is real rough. Because this way, if they play like a Thought-Knot Seer, there's a real choice between Daru Warchief and Fairgrounds Warden. The Affinity guy likes playing with colorless cards? Alright, so my opponent is real big Eldrazi. Real big. My opponent likes mana, from what I can tell. So my opponent next turn has 1, effectively 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. That's bad. So I guess I like hardcast Daru Warchief, put in Preeminent Captain off of Preeminent Captain, and then have Aerial Responder and Fairgrounds Warden to put in for my next turn. Yes, confirmed big. Is big. Actually, the second Preeminent Captain trigger probably doesn't matter next turn, because I probably don't play the Fairgrounds Warden, or I can just like hardcast one of these, so maybe I should put in Aerial Responder in case the 3 life gain matters more. I could buy that. This is actually fine, right? Like, this is bad, but not game over bad. Because when we attack with the Preeminent Captain, we use its trigger to put the Fairgrounds Warden in and get rid of the Kozilek. And then my opponent takes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My opponent takes a lot of damage. Oh, shit. Actually, so we just Palace Jailer this because it's uncounterable due to the Cavern of Souls. Then we put in Preeminent Captain, and we still have Fairground Warden as backup. Yeah. I can also just bounce it. But what fun is that? My opponent would get to draw so many more cards. Oh my gosh, Urborg, stop. Oh, this cost 1 less. I wasted a mana. I should have... Alright. Error on my end. I could have left Karakas up. Alright, my opponent is at 1. Do you have, like, an all-is-dust opponent? You can search up something gross with Ayavugan, but I don't know what you could search up that would be enough at this point, because, like, not even an Ulamog saves you. Alright, so there's that all-is-dust. Why don't you cast Responder? Sorry, I'll read that again later. No, we're not dead. You only have to poke for one. And we have, like, a removal spell and an effective second removal spell. So it's fine. 2, 3... I can tap the Karakas. But I might want to leave the Karakas up. I don't think the 2 life matters. Oh no, I can just tap this for black. Neat. Thanks, opponent. So my opponent is playing sort of a big Eldrazi deck. It is an Eldrazi sort of ramp-based deck. So it is going to have things like the biggest of the Eldrazi, probably including Emrakul, new Olimog, maybe like some Ugins and Karns. Like there's a lot of fat in the deck. It's essentially like fat and mana rocks. I went away. How have we been doing? We are 3-0. Alright, so my opponent gets my Karakas here. Not much I can do about that, but we'll get their Olimog. So this is still fine. Sort of like terrifyingly enough. The fact that my opponent has cast 2 giant Eldrazi's is not enough to defeat the Soldier Stompy deck, because it is so strong. We'll ignore the fact that they have an Eye of Ugin there for inevitability, and we'll just keep exiling all their fatties. Roar! Roar! Unbeatable. Soldier Stompy. Tier 0. Ban Soldier Stompy. Look at it destroy these good-natured Eldrazi folk. They think they're the menace. Oh, how wrong they are. Hit him with your crossbow, Steve! Can I zoom in on this picture? No, I can't zoom in on this picture. So we don't have Aether Vial in this deck. The only, like, pseudo-haste option we have here is in the form of Preeminent Captain. But all we need is one love tap. Opponent's Ancient Tomb is now only a swamp. Urborg, real MVP here. Phil, how is the Nick Fit matchup? With Death and Taxes or with this deck? Because with Death and Taxes, I can tell you it's weird. And with this deck, I have no idea. I've never played it. Alright, so you get a bunch of cards, opponent. So I can rip Karakas, a Jailer, a Warden to get a kill. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Soldier. Soldier. More soldier. More soldier? And you know what? Why don't we tap this one for black? Just for giggles. Alright, I sent 3 Eldrazi to the Shadow Realm there. So we got rid of the Kozilek, and the Olimog, and the more other Kozilek to win this match. Well, that's because I'm playing Soldier Stompy, and the deck is just amazing. So, of course we're going to draw well. That's how that works. Alright. Armageddon. Get in here, bro. That seems great. Chalice of the Void seems like absolute garbage. We'll take those out. Most of the rest of these cards are bad. Can Spyglass shut off Mana Rocks? I can't shut off Mana Rocks. I guess I can shut off Ayavugan and Planeswalkers and things like random walking ballistas, or the untap ability of some of the mana rocks. Thorn is not irrelevant. Thorn's fine with like some of their like all is dust type cards or their mana rocks. It's very bad if they get ahead of me, so maybe like I consider Thorn on the play but not on the draw. Hey, mods, if you would just tell me why you timed out that person, please let me know. I didn't see anything. I might have missed something. It's also possible that I just, like, play Aegis of the Gods just as another body to try to close out the game. Ooh, Warping Whale for all is dust. Game. And I think I'll, like, maybe consider the Thorns on the play. So if we 5-0, do we make a Thraben Barracks for the Soldier Stompy portion? Or is this just gym class in Thraben? It's a good question. Alright, well, this one has no lands. That's an auto mulligan. This one's fine. We'll get a recruiter to get some sort of... Ooh. Suppression field. So how good is Suppression field against their deck? So-so? Like, it doesn't stop the mana rocks. It stops the untapping of them. It's maybe not good enough. It does stop things like Voltaic Key, though. Alright, Moxall, thank you very much. I believe that, you know, your judgment is fine. I was just curious because I didn't see anything. Ooh, I could just use it for the Mox. Deal. Our Army of Thalia. Good thinking. Extra credit for you. I agree with that line. Alright, so, I know we said we were just going to use it for the Mox, but now that my opponent played the Voltaic Key, that card is terrifying, so we want a Suppression field. And it looks like we're putting Thalia under the Chrome Mox, unfortunately, because the Recruiter is just too valuable. Candlestick is a good point, too. Just like we drew it up, yeah. So, I probably just want to get a Palace Jailer here. And start drawing a bunch of extra cards. Although Thalia Heretic Cathar seems pretty saucy right now. It'll stop my opponent's... It'll slow down my opponent's mana development quite a bit. that might just be better. And then if I draw a land, I can Thalia, Heretic Cathar, and hold up Warping Whale. I don't know. If my opponent already has access to, like, potentially 6 mana this turn, that isn't enough for big idiots. But if they just play a Cloud Puss this turn, then the Thalia Heretic Cathar is too slow. Jailer it is. Alright, well, our choice was irrelevant. I think getting either Jailer or Heretic Cathar are the best, like, high upside plays. So I think it's correct to do one of those 2 plays. So, like, basic planes, getting Enlistment Officer and getting Palace Jailer do very similar roles. So that there's, like, very little difference between those 2 things. I don't know that I like that attack from my opponent. I don't know that they are the aggressor in this matchup. I know they're currently winning the race, but they're not going to be for long. So now I attack with everything. That's 3, 4, 5, that's 6 damage this turn. I use a Warping Whale to just block. No, I don't. I guess I can also just, like, chump with a Recruiter and bash in for 5. That's probably fine as well. Yeah, that was a really insane draw. So I'm going to attack in with everything, and then plan on putting in Thalia Heretic Cathar, and then using both of my Warping Whales to just create tokens. This is probably about the point where my opponent might want to stop attacking, because, yeah. Now do I want to use my Warping Whale tokens to make... No, I don't. I'll hold these. Alright, now we can sit and stare at each other for a little while. Ah, yes, the classic game of chicken where no one can attack. Well, we break the chicken stalemate now. And now we still have a Warping Whale up for an All Is Dust. My opponent gets to, like, do that. So that's neat. Our opponent seems to have trouble doing things. Yes, that indeed sounds accurate. Ooh! Soldier Stompy! OP! Alright, we're doing things, chat. Alright, so chat, I realize since I'm not taking notes, I don't actually know what matches we played in what order. So real quick, help me recap the rounds. So that round was versus Big Eldrazi. So our previous round was versus Isoka versus Jordan. Playing his, like, Stoneblade-ish deck. I say ish because it's got a lot of weirdos in it. So then rounds 1 and 2, one of those we played against Delver. And what was the other one? All right, so match 2 is Grixis Delver. Thank you. What was round 1? Was that also Delver? Jeskai Dude Ranch. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, whatever. It's easy enough to check, like, the beginning of the video to see what round 1 was in a bit. I'm not too worried about that. All right, folks. We are going for the gusto here. Deathblade. Was it Deathblade? That sounds right. Oh yeah, was that weird, like, Esper Delver type deck? Yeah. Okay, that's right. Thank you for that, Aaron. All right. Let's see if we can make the 5-0. Yeah, Delver with Stoneforge, Deathblade with Delver. It was a little bit off the main beaten path as far as archetypes go. Oh man, I would love to get this deck list published. Because, A, this deck is sweet, and B, I would love that people would randomly take my advice on building this deck after I've only played, like, 5 leagues with it. Yeah, Bosk, I think, like, Esper Delver is probably, like, the most reasonable name, because it's got, like, the dazes and such that suggest it's trying to play the Delver game plan. Ooh, Moxall, you've got it there. I'd call it a pile of cards enabled by Deathrite Shaman. Excellent. All right, come on, Moto. I want to get paired already. I just want to, like, continue on my warpath. Shit, I want to fight you for the 5-0. In before Stompy Mirror. Are we on the banned Deathrite wagon? From the day that Top got banned, I said that Deathrite Shaman would be the next card to get banned. So yes, I believe that is a good choice, and I also believe that is going to happen. I'm going to keep this hand. It doesn't have the turn 1 hate piece, but it has 2 really good hate pieces, and I think my opponent plays Storm. So, I am likely to just put this Chalice on 0 on my turn 1. Oh, Pleasant Kenobi, thank you very much for hosting. We're going for the 5-0 here. We're going for the 5-0 with Soldier Stompy. Cabal Therapy. Cabal Therapy my Chalice? Yeah. Dirty. That's okay. We'll draw another. No. Alright, we can't run like 100% perfects all night. The jig is indeed up. So Killing Farm, I don't want to like harp too much on Deathrite Shaman because like enough ink has been spilled on that. Oh, they get the Suppression field too. What a jerk. What a bully. But my general thoughts are Deathrite Shaman does too much for 1 mana, and ooh. There's a lot more, but it essentially does too much for 1 mana, in my opinion. I don't like going on tirades about it. Let's see, what card do we get against Storm? I think it's Lil Thalia. We'll get a Lil Thalia. Oh, is that just happening? Neat. I probably don't need to protect this in game 1. So I'm not going to take the 2 damage here in order to do so. Clearly we need to ban Suppression Field. Yeah, it just beats out Deathrite Shaman. How can you activate your Deathrites in the face of Suppression Field? It costs so much mana. Alright, does that allow anything broken? So I can just go like 4 mana, play War Chief, and then I can't do any of this stuff. So I think I'm just going to play War Chief without doing anything else here, and then next turn I'll probably like double Enlistment Officer. How are you 2-0 with Spanish Inquisition, Tyler? That deck is like legitimately terrible. And I've played many a terrible deck. Daru Warchief is really neat in this matchup. I've played this matchup before because it gets your idiots out of like Massacre and Dread of Night range, and that's super important. Oh, jeez. Chalice is a beating here. So I can go 3 mana for a Chalice on 1, or I can go 1 mana for a Chalice on 0, and then also play Enlistment Officer. I have my opponent dead next turn, so I'll probably just like Chalice them, call that good enough. Alright, so what lines beat me? Probably only like Past in Flames lines. Although my opponent getting Hellbent could matter, and so if I take them all... Oh no, they only have 4 cards, so they can probably get Hellbent no matter what. Oh, I can actually just put Chalice on 2, right? That stops Cabal Rituals and Infernal Tutors. That might just be better. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana, and then pay for Thalia with Chalice on 2, and then I don't think I can lose if I have a Chalice on 2. Because I just don't know how they could possibly get enough. Alright, I suppose if I take damage from the Ancient Tomb, I go to 14. Alright, I think this is an irrelevant decision, because I think whatever I put this Chalice on, I win. I'm going to put it on 2. Yeah, so Killing Farm, I played, I think, 3 leagues with that deck list. I think it's hot garbage. I really, really, really... My opponent says tank, cast Chalice. Classic. Um, anyway, to finish that thought, I really did not enjoy playing that deck list without the Stoneforge Mystics because I felt like it had a lot less wiggle room than other versions. Like, you don't get to wiggle yourself out of as many spots due to, like, equipment where you can just, like, go through and, like, manage to get through a true name because you have sort of fire and ice and things of that nature. Alright, Spyglass in, Warping Whale in, Aegis of the Gods, get in here, buddy. We'll play Holy Light to deal with goblins, and we'll consider, but probably not play Fairy. Alright, what is bad? Fairgrounds Warden, you can get out. Palace Jailer, Suppression Field is similarly meh. Like, it stops fetch lands. That might be good enough. We have a lot of, like, average cards. I can beat my opponent to death with anything. Palace Jailer is, like, a guaranteed one-sided Howling Mine. So there's something to that. Yeah, I know. Lol Aegis of the Gods. Agreed. My last opponent yesterday laughed at me playing that, too. So what am I doing with my life? I can just do my usual route of, like, trim the enlistment officers because I'm going down a significant number of soldiers. Like, if I do what I have here, I've cut 9 creatures. And I've only put 1 in. Maybe I'm cutting too many creatures and I'm supposed to cut the suppression fields. But, like, any early interaction is good and important, and then it doesn't matter what I do to my opponent. Teferi's Protection. That's an interesting one. Teferi's Protection does a lot of weird things, but it's kind of niche, and it's kind of expensive. So I don't know that I love it. I have not done any testing of the card myself. So if I board in the fairies, I want to board out the suppression fields. And since I can't cast these to close the game, I don't know that I want that. I think the rest of my hate is already good enough. Alright, so this has either turn 1 Thalia or turn 1 Suppression Field, and they can't Cabal Therapy me off of both. I'll keep this. Ooh, and a Thorn. My name's Soldier. I'm going to cast a Chromox. We'll bin the... I'm not casting the Suppression Field this game because, like, Thorn and Thalia are going to make this absolutely uncastable, so this Suppression Field can go. And we're going to lead on Thorn so that I can cast Thalia next turn. If I lead on Thalia this turn, then I can't cast Thorn next turn unless I spike a land. Yeah, so Fairy in most games won't do anything against them. Ooh, sack the Lotus Petal to ponder. Bully mode unlocked. And they shuffled? Mmm. Mmm. Such a bully. Yeah, so if my opponent went on turn 1, went Gitaxian Probe into Cabal Therapy, named my Mox, and I don't have an accelerator, it does give them a window. 5-0, please, deck. What is this? Could be anything. Alright, you have Fatal Pushed me. But opponent, I have bad news for you. I have more other Thalia. But we'll play this Thalia first. Followed by this Thalia. Followed by Preeminent Captain. We have now exposed ourselves to Massacre, but I don't really care about that. Massacre already costs 2. You got another one? Oh no, this is just a Ponder. Boy, that Ponder feels bad. Alright. Playing a Chalice on 0 to eliminate LEDs is probably really good. I think I will do that. Alright, so X is 0, paying 2 mana. Done. Alright, so opponent is going to need something like a Hurkyl's Recall at this point. And that still doesn't answer the Thalia. So as soon as I draw another land, I'll put that Chalice on 1. And I don't think there's any way my opponent is going to win through Thalia, Thorn, and Chalice in the next turn, so I'm going to go ahead and play out the Preeminent Captain. That way I attack for more damage next turn. It'll also let me dedicate my mana to Chalice of the Void if I draw one. Alright, you got rid of a Thorn. You have started to do things, opponent. The bad news is that that enables me to play my Chalice on 1, but you don't know that. My opponent has mismatching Ponders? Oh, I can't look. But I'll believe you. Alright. Opponent's doing something. Yeah. Okay. Alright, my opponent is casting an Ad Nauseam, but this isn't really safe. Alright, opponent is now not dead on board, because they can't, like, see this Thalia Heretic Cathar and know that it's coming. But they are dead to my attack at this point. Oh, that's a Hurkyl's Recall. That does something. No, that probably doesn't do anything, actually. Because they can, like, Hurkyl's, and then not have enough mana to, like, pay the Thalia attacks to do meaningful things. Absolutely disgusting. .png. Yes. So my opponent can go Dark Ritual into Dark Ritual makes a total of 3 mana. Go down to 0, Cabal Ritual, have 5 mana. Go down to 4 mana, Lotus Petal, and then empty? Is that correct? Let me recount that. Nope. Oh yeah, Chalice. Yep, so the mana rocks do nothing. Nope. Alright. So, opponent can Dark Writ into Cabal Writ, never get Hellbent for Infernal Tutor. Alright, so opponent can Dark Writ, Cabal Writ, have 5 mana, play Island Hurkyl's Recall, Lotus Petal, empty? No. I can play it to see if we remember our Chalice trigger. Sure can. The best part is that if they empty and we draw a land, we just Holy Light all the goblins away. Alright, so Dark Writ's gone, Misty's gone. Okay. You make a bunch of goblins. Alright, so that's not actually a mana source because of our Chalice of the Void, unfortunately. Oh, holy shit, chat. This is fucking awesome. So we get to attack in with this Thalia, and they have to fucking block it. And then we're gonna get them with the Holy Light. Because they probably don't jump, right? Oh, man. Alright, opponent has a lot of blockers. Alright, we're going to assign blockers carefully. I think I'm going to drag this goblin over. Okay. Alright. I'm a bad, bad man. Opponent says ... interesting lol. I don't need to play any of these other artifacts out because my opponent has the Hurkyls that I know about. So I can just pass the turn at this point. It's possible my opponent can still cobble together a win with this Brainstorm. Like, I think did they use that Cabal Writ last turn? No, they didn't use the Cabal Writ last turn, so... They might even be able to, like, put back the recall, avoid 0-drops, and try to go, like, Cabal Writ, Infernal Tutor, Past in Flames, go. Yeah, Holy Light's been pretty great. It got a ridiculous win versus Grixis Delver, where we swept, like, infinite things off the board. And this is going to get a win, or very, very close to it, here. Certainly preventing a loss. That might be the better way to put it. We'll see if it's enough. Alright, there's the recall. So they have Cabal Written and Infernal Tutor left. Oh, or maybe not. They just have the Past in Flames already? Alright, so... Dark Writ, Dark Writ, Dark Writ, Cabal Writ... Tutor dead? I'm not going to concede until I see the tendrils, though, because there is, like, some possibility that they bordered it out. Alright, there it is. We are only at 20, so we die. Alright, despite the fact that we Holy Lighted for infinite goblins, we lost that one. That's fine. Yeah, no, that was, like, really cool. So, like, the only thing I can change with my sideboarding is, like, consider bringing in, like, Armageddon or Fairy. I don't think I need any of that. Like, just keeping a certain number of bodies that kill my opponent is somewhat important. Maybe Enlistment Officer is just worse than Palace Jailer. I guess I'll just run this back. Would like to play first, yes. Alright, so this does a... We're keeping this hand. This does everything we want. I just have to figure out, like, what I'm doing with this. This one probably does turn 1 Suppression Field, followed by turn 2 Thorn. If I play turn 1 Thorn, I can't actually cast anything else in my hand, so that's awkward. And if I play the turn 1 Suppression Field and my opponent just has fetches, that's insane. I think I'm going to imprint the Holy Light because I need the other cards more. I don't want my opponent to just, like, get me on turn 1 because I didn't play Thorn. I'm going to play Thorn. Alright, so opponent did not have a fetch. So my line is rewarded. Oh, wow. So now if my opponent has a fetch, it enters tapped, and then I can play Suppression Field. Gross. Thanks, Tyler, for getting those elves out of there. I really do appreciate that. So I can go Little Thalia this turn, or I can just, like, play the Suppression Field. I don't need to play the Suppression Field yet, though, because if my opponent plays a fetch, it enters tapped. And I can still pay 4 mana for Suppression Field next turn. They are scared because they are weak. Yeah, we conveniently accidentally play around Massacre, which is not irrelevant either. If I draw a Plains, I am not playing it. Like, 100% not playing it. At this point, I probably just hold up Warping Whale in case... I don't even know what they could have. So if I play Preeminent Captain, it's a 2-turn clock versus a 3-turn clock. No, I'll hold up Warping Whale in case they have something like basic land Pyroclasm. That is something that would be very inconvenient. Now I'll play the Suppression Field to keep them from using the Misty for mana, because they could fetch Island with it. The Thalia Heretic Cathar Suppression Field combo is kind of gross. Also, the 3-mana Brainstorm feels super bad. So I just saw this in the chat now, but my opponent agreed that last game was really nutty and interesting. I think the Suppression Field is better than holding up Warping Whale, because, like, there's a very good possibility that my opponent just, like, flails around and does nothing on their turn. And even if my opponent, like, somehow gets rid of my creatures, like, there's still Suppression Field plus Thorn to deal with. So I think we're real safe with my opponent on 5 cards. Tyler, you know what you're getting yourself into by playing Spanish Inquisition. Like, you're living that life. It's fine. We have all the backup. Alright, so my opponent's fetch land now is unable to be used, both due to the Suppression Field and the fact that they would kill them. I think my opponent's best line for their turn is probably pay 2 for Suppression Field and then fetch. And I really hope they do it. Alright, Fatal Push, destroying Thalia. That's not a sorcery. I can't do anything about that. This is just counter-target sorcery. So, resolves. Oh man, opponent's doing it. Opponent kills themselves by activating their Bloodstained Mire. Alright, so opponent is going to use LED to kill themselves and crack their Bloodstained Mire. Best line possible. Best line possible. All right, chat. That was the 5-0 with Soldier Stompy. We did it. We did it. Okay, let's talk about some of my thoughts about this deck list now that like everything's done and this is over. So that was 5-0 Publish Us WotC. I mean, this card is most certainly 15 cards different from anything else anyone else played. So like this gets published. Probably like 100%. Oh, Maxwell, I love you. Oh my gosh. He says, Phil, ship this list to Mark, that is Bahra, and tell him that this is your D&T without Stoneforge. Yes. Good point. Good point. All right, so let's talk about some of my thoughts about the deck list. I have been underwhelmed with sort of this portion of the deck. Most of my wins have just been with, like, the 2-drop column here, supplemented by this stuff. Like, it was my removal suite that took a lot of those matches, like when we played against the big Eldrazi deck, and we just, like, hosed them by eating all of their creatures. So, I think this portion... You can't see my hand, or the hand doesn't help you. I think this portion of the deck is very good. I think there's some wiggle room here. Preeminent Captain is sort of a poor Ether Vial impression. Like, there were a couple of games where it got me some advantage, but it was rarely, like, cripplingly good, like an Ether Vial or a Goblin Lackey might be. So, like, this card isn't bad, but it kind of underperformed, in my opinion. And the Daru War Chiefs are fine. Someone suggested trying Thalia's Lancers over it, which is like probably a reasonable suggestion. But this card, the toughness side of this was probably more important than anything else, and so for that reason, I'd be hesitant to cut it. I don't know that my sideboarding is correct because like Enlistment Officer kept coming out, and that's supposed to be one of the 2 card advantage engines of this deck. But maybe this deck doesn't need card advantage and it just like wants more hate. I could see that. As far as the sideboard goes, like there's some awkwardness with Fairy and Suppression Field. But in a lot of the combo matchups, my Thorns and Thalias are coming in anyway. So like playing Rest in Peace is hard. And like true white mana can be hard since we're running like these 11 lands that produce colorless, and that leaves you with 12 sources that can actually cast the Rest in Peace. So that's not the best, and you don't want to like play something like Surgical. There's a possibility Leyline of the Void is better, but I can't ever cast that if it's not in my opener. So otherwise, I liked a lot of the sideboard. I'd consider playing another copy of Holy Light. That card was really good tonight, and if you get paired against like Grixis Delver, it's just disgusting. I loved the Thorns. I liked the Warping Wheels. If there was one weakness of the sideboard, it's probably that it can't answer equipment as of right now. So I probably need some sort of disenchant type effect. I don't know if that means I should just play another Sorceress Spyglass as a way to just like shut off equipment specifically, or if that means like I should just play like a disenchant or some sort of creature that has a disenchant or pseudo disenchant effect attached to it. One of the issues there is like you can't play something like Leonin Relic Warder, which is one of your best options and is recruiterable, because you can't realistically get white for non-soldiers easy. So like that's one thing that I want to think about. Thoughts on Holy Light in the D&T sideboard? Definitely viable. I was very, very impressed with it tonight in this shell. In this shell, admittedly, though, you do have like the Ancient Tombs and the City of Traders, as well as no colorless cards like Phyrexian Revoker that are just going to die. So it's probably a little bit better in this deck than in D&T, but like it was a fine card. Would not be disappointed to have access to that card. Yeah, so maybe 1 over the third path. Yeah, that's totally reasonable. So chat says they want to see this again. You'll definitely see this deck again at some point. My 5-0 today is very encouraging because I went on a 0-5 start yesterday, largely due to my own mistakes while I was learning the deck, but I'm not going to learn a deck in a tournament practice room. Like, everyone there is learning decks, and it's not good testing. But then I did 2 3-2s in a row, followed by this 5-0. So, like, apparently this is a somewhat viable deck. I question that this is the best build, or, like, the best way to go about, like, using a Chalice of the Void shell. But if you're looking for something fun to like do at an FNM or a local event, like this is definitely a good option. Phil, question is, do you like it more than D&T? No, but this is a very good break. Like I definitely enjoyed this. So just kind of generic announcement. My spring break begins on Friday. So Friday and Saturday, I will be taking a trip to Greensboro to just kind of mess around and like go eat and play a bunch of like arcade games and J-pop games and things of that nature. Once I get back, I'm gonna have like a week to myself. So you remember all of those streams that I said I was going to do once I got access to my card holder loan account? Well, that's ready now. So that's how I borrowed the cards for tonight. So like the blue-white stream will happen, a Maverick stream will probably happen, as well as a handful of other things, and I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, Greensboro, North Carolina. I really like that place. I went there for an anime convention a couple of weeks ago, and there's some just baller food there and some sweet arcades. So I'm going specifically to go to, I think it's either the Lost Ark or the Lost Colony, that is sort of a mom and pop game store with an arcade attached, as well as like a bowling alley that has another arcade as well. So we're going to like play like rhythm games and stuff of that nature. Did you used to play EDH at AU in DC? Yes, I did. Or play at a card store in Rockville, Maryland? Yes, I did. That would indeed be me. Those were the days where I actually played EDH. It's been a long time since I have touched that format now. So if you vaguely recognize me, yes, that is me. Yes, Lost Ark, thank you. Also check out Boxcar. See, this is why you need connections, people. You learn where to check out. You learn the sweet spots, and secretly that's like the best part of a lot of trips. All right, chat. Do you have any other questions for me, or any things you think we can do to make this deck better? There were other things that I considered that I didn't play. Like, I really considered Brimaz, King of Oreskos, in this deck, but I was worried that, like, it being white-white wasn't the greatest. I also am unsure whether or not I should play the 4th Aerial Responder. Again, it's white-white, but it's really, really good against Delver. So I am now in Roanoke, Virginia. That's where Star City Games is, and I'm teaching Latin there currently. Pretty happy with my setup. It's pretty great. So if you want to keep streaming me, keep following me. I stream every Monday and Wednesday night, starting at about 7 p.m. Eastern time. And next week, since it's my spring break, I'm going to be streaming a ton. No promises on exact numbers, but expect to see some interesting things from me. How about a Dismember? Huh. That was not something I'd considered. In the main deck, I definitely don't want a Dismember. But in the sideboard, that's reasonable. But I guess we want removal against a lot of decks that are pressuring our life total heavily. So maybe that's not the best option. Like, Dismember doesn't feel great against Delver, especially if it gets dazed. Yeah, Brimaz is a soldier. Cat soldier. Ooh, there's a new card in Dominaria. Well, that's good to know. We can play the updated deck list. that features a new soldier. Aaron Relentless, do you happen to know the name of that? Ooh, I'm gonna just pull up that card real quick and see what it does, because I don't know. Alright. So, legendary creature, human soldier 2/4, vigilance. Creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 for each one of those creatures. Okay. That's reasonable. That's kind of annoying, and it would stop some of the pressure from things like Young Pyromancer. I don't... I guess it kind of plays in with like the Thalia Suppression Field, other Thalia effects. Fall of the Thran? Oh, that's one of the sagas, right? Alright, that costs 6 mana. Destroy all lands. Each player returns 2 land cards from their graveyard to the battlefield. No, I don't think I'm all about that. I believe that was a 4 CMC, the Steward of Argive one. I guess another thing I can consider for the main deck also is just moving the Armageddons to the main deck. In game 1, I think it's probably pretty easy for me to get ahead on board. And being ahead on board and casting Armageddon is pretty sweet against a good portion of the format. Like, I don't know if these Fairground Wardens are good enough to be in the main deck. They definitely did well today. They did a lot of work today. But, like, on its own, it is a 1/3 that is temporary removal. It's sort of food for thought. Yeah, I mean, that's the story of, like, cards for D&T, right? A lot of the cards, if they're 1 mana less, if they have, like, 1 point of power or toughness reversed or something like that, they all of a sudden become playable or even very, very good. So, like, that's an old problem, right? All right, I think that's all I have to say about Soldier Stompy here. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's stream. This was a bonus for all of my subscribers. They voted and they wanted to see Soldier Stompy. And subs, you did me well. You supported me financially, and you helped me get this 5-0 too with this awesome deck list. So thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to look for another Legacy stream that I can host and throw you all into before I sign off. So if you have any last questions for me, please let me know. Alright, I don't see anything that's overly interesting here, so I'm just going to host one of my friends who happens to be playtesting some arena. So good night to all of you. I hope you enjoyed this stream. I'll be uploading it to YouTube momentarily.